broadcast receivers. Hello, everyone. Now, we're going to talk about broadcast receivers in Android devices in this particular video. The broadcast receiver is a messaging system used on Android devices, but this messaging system is used between the Android operating system and Android applications. The Android operating system shares device-related information with Android applications. Bet you didn't know that, huh? So this device-related information can be just simple stuff like the device battery level, whether it's connected to Wi-Fi or not, whether the device starts to charge, or is the device in airplane mode or not, all that kind of stuff. So if the application wants to know some of this information or all of it, it will subscribe to the operating system in order to get this information. So when these system events occur, the operating system sends a broadcast message to any of the subscribed applications. The Android operating system sends these messages when these system events occur. So this is really important because whenever one of the system events occurs, Android operating system sends broadcast messages at that particular time. For example, if you want your application to learn when the device battery is low, you will need to subscribe your application to that specific system event. And when the device battery is low, the Android operating system will send a message to your application. That's why it's called a broadcast message. Or if you want your application to know when the device is connected to Wi-Fi, you can subscribe your application to that system event. And whenever the device is connected to Wi-Fi, the Android operating system will send a broadcast message to your application. Now, when your Android device gives a warning to you that the battery is low, it also sends this message to all of the subscribed applications. Also, when the Android device switches into airplane mode, or the user does that, the system sends this message to all of the subscribed applications. So all this makes sense, right? So how are you going to use this information for Android application? So our application subscribes to the information that we want. Android operating system does not send every bit of information or system events. We subscribe to system events, whichever one we will need in our particular application. I cannot be more clear than that. So we take information from the system, but where are we going to use this information? For example, you develop an application, and this application saves user photos on a server. Now, such an application allows the user to access their photos from anywhere. Okay, it's a great feature, really useful. But how will you send the photos to the server? If you send every photo to the server when the photo was taken, it will pretty rapidly use up the user's mobile data, right? Because a user can even take hundreds of photos in a few seconds. So this is probably not a good feature for an application. Nobody wants to use that kind of data-sucking application, right? So what you do is you save photos in the device memory, and then when the device is connected to Wi-Fi, you can then send the photos to the server. So it's this kind of thinking and this kind of feature that will reduce the user's mobile data consumption. That's how you get a good reputation, by the way. So if you want to develop this kind of application, you will need to learn when the device is connected to Wi-Fi. Your application can subscribe to system events, and when the device is connected to Wi-Fi, the Android operating system sends a broadcast receiver message to the application. And then after this message, your application starts to send the user photos to the server. Now also, when the device is disconnected from Wi-Fi, the system will send a message again to the application, and your application will stop sending photos to the server, right? Now, where else do you figure we can use this broadcast receiver? Well, let's say, for example, applications that verify by message can use the broadcast messaging system. Many applications are using message validation systems such as WhatsApp and Viber, and some of them, when the message comes in, read the message automatically. So you can develop this kind of application using broadcast messaging. Your application subscribes to the system event, and when a new message comes into the phone, your application will know this. And then after that, your application can read this message automatically. Now, let me give you another example. When a device battery is low, the system will send a message to the subscribed applications. So after the application gets the message, the application can stop its background tasks. So then this both reduces the device battery consumption and it prevents sudden interruption of the background task. And then when the battery level is normal, the system sends another message to the applications. Then after they get this message, the applications can then restart their background tasks. So the use of broadcast messages when designing an application is really important for the more efficient and better quality applications, which is what you want to build, I'm sure. Okay, so I also want to mention this. So broadcast messaging system can be used between two applications. That's right, we're going to step it up. It means that one application can send a broadcast message to another application, but most of the time it's used between the Android operating system and Android applications. Okay, so that's all the theory. Let's go into the Android Studio and learn broadcast receivers in practice. So here I've created a new Android Studio project. If you want, you can use your previous project. Now, if we want to get the broadcast message, first we will need to create a receiver class. So I'll just right-click on the main activity class, and then after that I'll select New, Java class. And I need to give a name to this class. Name can be Broadcast Example, and click OK. All right, so now we have a Broadcast Example class. So this class needs to extend the Broadcast Receiver class. And I'll just write here, extends Broadcast Receiver. Then after that, we'll need to add some unimportant methods. I will click here and select Implement Methods. Now in here, I'll select OnReceive method and click OK. Now, Android Studio added the OnReceive method. So after that, I'll write my codes in the OnReceive method. Now, before I continue, I need to define this class in the manifest file. There are two ways to get these broadcast receivers. First one is the manifest declared receivers, and the second one is context registered receivers. And we're going to learn both of these in this video. So we're going to start with manifest declared receivers. So I'll open up the manifest file, and under the activity tag, I will define my receiver class. And I'll just write in here, receiver, Android, name, and class name, receiver example. After that, I'll close the receiver tag. And inside the receiver tag, I will write action tag. So in here, I will select broadcast receiver type. And I mean which system events I want to know when it happens. That's what I select here. And you can see here which system events you can take from the receiver. For example, action power, connected and disconnected. This event sends a receiver to the application when the device is connected to the charger or disconnected from the charger. Another one is airplane mode. When the device switches into airplane mode, the system will send a receiver to the application. Another two are battery low and battery OK. You can learn the device charge status by using these methods. Now another one, device storage is low. So this is also a very good method because when the device storage is low, your application can take a receiver, and then after that, you can start a background task to delete some useless files on the device storage. So of course, there are a lot of methods here, and you can research every one of them yourself. I just want to give you that hands-on, nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts kind of feel, right? For example, reboot. This message will send a broadcast message when the device is rebooted. Another two are screen on and screen off. So if you want to start something when the device screen is on or off, you can use these methods. What I'm going to do is select airplane mode in this example. And after that, I will close the action tag. Now when the device switches to airplane mode, the system will send a broadcast receiver to my broadcast example class. And I will take this message in the onReceive method. Then after that, I can do whatever I want with the message. In this example, I will show a toast message when the device is switched to airplane mode. And I'll just write in here toast.makeText. And it wants three parameters. The first one is context. Second one is message. And the message can be devices in airplane mode. And the last one is toast message time. And I'll write toast.length long and .show. Now, when the device is switched to airplane mode, the system will send a broadcast message to the broadcast example class. After it gets this message, the broadcast example class will show a toast message to the user. Now, if you want to do another thing or start another task, you can write it in the onReceive method. So let's run the application and we'll see if it works or not. So the application opens. I will change it to airplane mode. So I will change it. And you see, when I change the airplane mode status, it showed me the toast message. So this method notifies the application when the device changes into airplane mode. What does that mean? When the device switches to airplane mode or switches back to normal mode, the system will send a broadcast message. Cool. So now, how will I understand the device is switched to airplane mode or to normal mode? I need to learn the device is in airplane mode or not. So while the system is sending a broadcast message, it also sends a Boolean parameter. Now, if I use this Boolean parameter, I can learn the device status. When the airplane mode is open, let's say, the parameter will be true. When airplane mode is off, the parameter will be false. And I'll create a container to catch this Boolean parameter. And I'll write Boolean is plain mode equals intent dot get Boolean extra. So this method will take two parameters, First one is keyword, and it will take the message using this keyword. And the system sends the message with the same keyword. The keyword is state. Second one is default value. And I'll give the default value false. If the device switches from normal mode to airplane mode, the system will send true. If the device switches from airplane mode to normal mode, system will send false, right? And I will create an if-else condition. If is airplane mode equals true, it will show this toast message. Else, it will show an other toast message. Message will be device is not in airplane mode. So let's run it again and see that. So the application opens, and when I switch to airplane mode, it shows the toast message. Device is in airplane mode. And when I switch to normal mode, it shows the toast message. Device is not in airplane mode. Excellent. So this is how manifest declared broadcast works. Now, of course, I can grab some other system events using this broadcast message. Also, there's another way to get those broadcast receivers. It is called context-registered receivers. I'm sure you remember that from the beginning. So now I want to show you this method, and then you can choose whichever one you want for whatever purpose you're going to do, which is designing excellent applications. So first I'm going to delete this declaration in the manifest file because I really won't be using it like this anymore. I will not change anything in the broadcast example class. So you know what? Let's go to the main activity class and create an object of the broadcast example class. And I will write here, broadcast example, BR equals new broadcast example. Now after that, in the onCreate method, I will create an object of intent filter class. And I will write intent filter, filter equals new intent filter. Then on the second line, filter dot add action. And then inside the parenthesis, intent dot. And now, can you see this right here? All of the methods you saw in the manifest file are all here now. So now you can select one of these methods. For example, airplane mode, screen on and off, boot completed. All of these methods are here. So I'm going to select airplane mode changed. Then after that, I'll write this dot register receiver. So this method will take two parameters. The first one is object of the broadcast receiver class, BR. Second one is object of the intent filter class, filter. Okay, so now it's going to work. So when the application works, it will take the receivers in the receiver example class. So while the system is sending broadcast receiver, it will also be sending the Boolean parameter. If it is true, it will show this toast message. And if it is false, it will show another toast message. But before the run, I do need to say something. Are you ready for this? Just plan. So I need to register this method in the onStart method and unregister it in the onStop method. Yeah? Hopefully you thought of that too. But why is that? because it will take receivers when the application is open, and it will not take receivers when the application is closed. Right. So I will write in the onStop method this .unregister receiver, BR. And when I unregister the receiver, I'll write just the object of the broadcast receiver. So let's go ahead and run the application. Application is open. Device is in airplane mode. And when I switch back to normal, it shows a toast message. Device is not in airplane mode. And when I switch to airplane mode again, it shows a toast message. Device is in airplane mode. Now, if I close the application, will it continue to take the receiver? So I close the application and change the device to airplane mode status. And as you see, it does not show the toast message. So what does that mean? The application will not take broadcast receivers anymore because I unregistered it in the onStop method. So when the application passes onto the onStop method, it will not take those broadcast receivers anymore. That makes sense, right? So the application will take broadcast messages when the application is in the foreground. You can change this according to your needs, of course, but I'm going to be leaving it all up to you. So what do you think? I think it's enough for this video. I hope it's useful for you. Go back and practice if you need to review anything, and I will see you in the next video. Intense. Hello, everyone. I know it seems intense, but what I want to do is speak about another kind of intense in this video. An intent is an object that provides runtime binding between separate components, such as two different activities. At the same time, it will also provide data transfer between these two activities. So the intent represents to an application intent to do something. Does that make sense? Cool. So it's used for a variety of tasks, and it has a very important place in Android application development. So we're going to talk about how intents are used to pass between two activities in this video. And also we're going to learn about how to transfer data between two activities while passing one activity to another activity. What do you think? Let's do it. So we'll go to the Android Studio and see it in practice. So here you can see I created a new project in Android Studio. And of course, you know how to create a new project, so I don't have to tell you that anymore. Now, also I added two components to the main activity. First one is an edit text, and the second one is a button. So what are we going to do in this example? We're going to write a name in edit text, and when we click on the button, it will open another activity. Also, it's going to get the name from the edit text and send it to the second activity. That's why it's important. So first, let's change the text of the button. I'll just write go to the second activity. And when I click on this button, it will open the second activity. So now I need to create a second activity. I'll click App. And after that, I will select File, New, Activity, and Empty Activity. I need to give a name to this activity. What do you think? I'm just going to call it Second Activity. Very creative, but it's clear. Stay with me. Click OK. So now I've got two activities. All right, so I just need to add a text view to the second activity. So when this activity opens, we will just grab that name from the main activity and write the name on this text view. And I can change the text size of the text view to see it better. So first I want to show you how to open the second activity using intent. That was the intent of this video. So I'll just go to the main activity and check IDs of these components. So the ID of the edit text is edit text. ID of button is button. Also, I'm going to delete the text of the edit text, but I will add a hint. And the hint will be, write your name. So the hint just explains what you want the user to do. And then after that, I'll define these components in the main activity Java file. So first, I will define edit text. I'll just write here edit text name. Second, I will define the button. And I'll write here button go. You can, name it whatever you want, of course. I really can't see you. Now, in the onCreate method, the name equals find view by ID r.id.editText, and go equals find view by ID r.id.button. I will check this ID too. And after that, I will add a click listener to the button. And I'll write go.set on click listener, new view on click listener. I will start new activity in this click listener. So, how does intent work? First, I will call the event class and create an object of this intent class. I will write intent, and that way when I call the intent class, the Android Studio imports the intent class. After that, I'll need to give a name to this intent object. I'll just give the name as intent, but of course you can put whatever name you want. So intent equals new intent. Now this intent method takes two parameters. The first one is activity name, and that will start the intent. So I'll write main activity dot this. The second one is activity name that will open using intent, and I will write second activity dot class. So now this method will open the second activity. But I will need to start this method to begin with, right? So in order to start this method, I will write start activity, and inside the parenthesis, I will write the name of the intent object, and its name is intent. So let's run the application and see. So the application's opened. So after I click the button, the second activity is opened. In the second activity, I have a text view. So that means the intent is working, but it needs to write the name on text view. So I need to write the necessary code for that. So now we know how to open another activity using intent. So while intent is opening another activity, it can also transfer the data to that second activity. And if we want to transfer data to the second activity, first we will need to take this data from the edit text. How do we do that? That's why we're taking this course. Okay, then let's continue. So when I click the button, it should take the name from the edit text, right? So because of this, I will just write my code in the click listener. And I will create a string container And I will write string username equals name dot get text dot to string. Now this code will take the name from the edit text, convert it to string, and assign it to the string username. Then after that, I can send this username to the second activity. I will write intent.putExtra. This method also takes two parameters. First parameter is keyword. The keyword matches that of the sender and receiver. And I will write keyword here. You can use your keyword just as long as it's the same for both sides and it's unique. And the second parameter is data. My data in here is username. So after I write these codes, the username will go to the second activity, right? But I need to catch it in the second activity. So in that second activity, I have a text view. The idea of this text view is text view, and I will define this text view in the second activity Java file. So I'll just write in here text view username, and in the onCreate method, username equals find view by ID r.id.textView. Now I define the text view. So after that, I'll write intent equals get intent. And I'll create a string container again. String name equals intent.getStringExtra. Now, why did I write this code? Because I send string from the main activity. If I want to take it in here, I've got to write a get string extra. If I sent Boolean from the main activity, then I would just write get Boolean extra. Get it? So if I send integer, I would write get int extra. I can send every data type from one activity to another activity using intent. So I will write get string extra, and inside the parenthesis, I will write keyword. And my keyword is keyword. See why I keep it simple? So after that, I will need to write this data onto the text view. And I'll write username.setTextName. Now let's run the application again. So the application opens, and I'll write a name here. And click the button. And after I click the button, the second activity is open, and the name is written on the text view. What do you think? That's it. That's how intent works. So using intent, you can open another activity and then transfer data between activities. Now, I don't know about you, but that's enough for me for this video. If you need to review something, go back. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Shared Preferences class. Hello, everyone. We're going to speak about the Shared Preferences class in this video. So sit back. It's going to be a great ride. So first, let me tell you that Android provides many ways of storing data in an application. Shared Preferences class is just one of them. So in the Shared Preferences class, you can save primitive types of data. These are integer, string, Boolean, all that kind of stuff. In the Shared Preferences class, you can save and retrieve data in the form of key value pair. For example, if you want to store an integer type data, you will save this integer data type and a key that matches the data. You can save a relatively small collection of data in the Shared Preferences class. And also, we can reach these saved data types anywhere within the application. So, where can we use shared preferences class? What do you suppose the better situation is to be using shared preferences class? We can use the shared preferences class, especially in the sudden exits from an application. Now, you must remember that we spoke about a life cycle in Android. So a feature of Android applications is that you can switch between the applications. So while you're working on one application, you can, let's say, take a phone call or make a message, or let's say you want to just check something from another application. So during these transitions, your applications can be closed, paused, or passed to the background. You may need to save application data during these transitions. See where I'm going? So the shared preferences class is very good for this type of situation. So let's say, for example, while you're playing an Android game, you need to exit from the game suddenly. You can save your last score. You know how important that is. So while you're playing a game, you can take a phone call or message somebody. If you want to answer this phone call, your game application will pass to the on-pause method or on-stop method. When you come back to the game again, you should be able to continue where you left off and also with your last score. So you can use the shared preferences class to save this kind of data, such as last score, highest score, game level, you know. So let me give you another example of the shared preferences class. You can use this class in login operations. So most of the applications have a login page, yeah? So on this page, the user has to enter a username and password. If the user does not want to enter this information every time, the user can check a Remember Me checkbox, right? And then after checking the checkbox, the application will save user data. And when the user comes back again to the application, the user will not have to write the username and password again. The application will remember it and write it automatically into the necessary fields. Guess what? You save this kind of data using the shared preferences class. So this feature provides user convenience, we'll call it, right? Now, another example can be using mail or message applications. So in these kinds of applications, the user can write long texts. We've all got them. So while the user is writing a long text, if the user needs to exit from the application or switches to another application, the text should not be deleted, right? So before the user goes out of the application, you can save what the user wrote using the shared preferences class. And when the user comes back to the application, he'll be able to retrieve the data, and then the user can continue where he or she left off. So this is how you use shared preferences class for these kinds of applications. So I think the explanation is enough. So let's get to Android Studio and see how to save local data using the shared preferences class. Shared preferences, saving data in the local memory. Hello everyone, today we will learn how to save data in local memory using the shared preferences class. So you can see here I created a new project, and if you want, you can use your older project. I'm just keeping it clean. And I will add 4 components to the project. I'll add 1 edit text, 1 multi-line text. Now, you know that multi-line edit text is used on the message applications, right? So the user can write a long text message using multi-line edit text. Also, I'm going to add 1 button and 1 checkbox. So now I have 4 components, and I will change the design of the components a little bit. I'll select 4 components, and I'm doing this by pressing the Control key on the keyboard. And I'll change the layout margin. So I will change layout height of the multi-line text to 200. And I will change the text of the button. I'll write 0. All right, so now my crude design is ready. So now I want to save data in these 4 components using the shared preferences class. So first, I will define these components in the main activity Java class. So what do we have here? One edit text. I will write edit text, username. One multi-line text. I will write edit text, user message. One button. I will write button counter. And one checkbox. I will write checkbox remember. And I will continue to define these 4 components in the onCreate method. But before I continue, I do need to give an ID to these components, yeah? So the ID of the edit text is edit text name. The ID of the multi-line edit text is edit text message. ID of the button can stay the same, button. And the ID of the checkbox can also stay the same, checkbox. Okay, good. So now I can continue. Thanks for waiting. So I'll just write here username equals find view by ID r.id.edit text name. User message equals find view by ID r.id.edit text message. Counter equals find view by ID r.id.button. Remember equals find view by ID r.id.checkbox. Now, why on earth did I call the checkbox remember? I mean, you know generally that a checkbox is used in these kinds of applications to, it's like a remember me button. If you check this checkbox, it will remember you for next time. So because of this, I named it remember. Do you remember? Because I do. Hopefully it was part of it. Maybe I better rewind and check it. No, I'm just kidding. You can name it whatever the heck you want, but now you know my intent. So I'm going to add an integer container. I will write int count equals 0. After that, I will add a click listener to the button, and I will write counter.set on click listener, new view on click listener. Inside the onClick method, I will write count equals count plus 1. I want it to increase plus 1 on every click on this button. And it will write the new count value on the counter button. And I will write counter.setText. And inside the parenthesis, quotation marks plus count. Now, I really do want to mention this, that normally you cannot write integer values on the button because the text should, mostly be a string. You can write it after the convert integer value to string value, but this is just a shorter way to convert an integer to a string. If you write quotation marks before the integer value, it will convert it to a string. So I'm going to run the application in this state to show you what I'm going to do. So the application is running. I've got 4 components, 2 text edits, 1 button, 1 checkbox. So I'll write a name in this edit text. Now also I'm going to write something in this multi-line edit text. Now it's not important what I'm going to write here, so, also I'm going to click this button several times. So every click, the counter is going to increase plus 1. And let's see, I'm going to click the checkbox. or check. I guess we check boxes. Check. So if I leave the application without saving this state and then open the application again, I will see that everything is gone. So think about that. You wrote a name here. You wrote a long text message here. This counter can be a score or something, and you check the checkbox. So after these operations, if you have to close the application suddenly, everything's going to be deleted. So why did I use these 4 components? Because this edit text uses string. So this multi-line edit text also uses string, but it's a long string. This button uses integer, and this checkbox uses Boolean. So you know that the checkbox can take 2 states, checked and unchecked. It's either true or false. So I want to show you how to save a string, integer, and Boolean values. And here we are. We are now going to finally get to the idea of how to save these values in local memory in this video. And then after that, we're going to learn how to call back these saved values. Before we continue, I want to show you again what happens on the device. So I'll write a name here, and I'm going to write something here. And I will click this button several times and check the checkbox. And then after that, just close the application. Now, open it up again, and you see that everything's deleted. So that's why I'm going to show you how to save these values using the shared preferences class. So I will first go to the main activity file. Now, before I call up the shared preferences class, I will create containers. I'll write string name, and this, of course, will be a username, string message, and I will take the user message, and Boolean is checked, and of course, this will take a checkbox status. Now, I already have an integer count container, so I don't have to write it again. Now, after all that, I can call the shared preferences class. And I'll write shared preferences. Now, I need to name the shared preferences object. And the name can be the same, shared preferences. Okay, so now after that, I do need to decide when I will save these values. So if you look here, when I close the application, the values are deleted. So if you can remember back that far, because I don't know if I can, when I explained the Android lifecycle, remember that I told you that if you close the application, it will pass it to the onPause method first. And then after the onPause method, it will pass it onStop and then to onDestroy. So if I save the values in the onPause method, I won't lose the values, right? So I will do my shared preferences operations in the onPause method. I will call the onPause method, and I will save the values in the onPause method, but I will create a save method, and I will write the saving codes in this method. Then after that, I can call this method in the onPause method. So this will make my job a whole lot easier, and hopefully yours too. And now I can use this save method wherever I want. So I'm going to write here public void save data. And then inside this method, I will call the shared preferences object. And I'll write shared preferences equals get shared preferences. And this method will take 2 parameters. First one is name. So this name is for the main shared preferences class. Second one is mode. Mode will be the context.mode private. So this mode private will give me access permission to save data from everywhere in the application, but it will restrict accessing outside the application, right? So that means that other applications will not be able to reach the saved data. Now, if you want to reach saved data from other applications, of course you can use other methods. Okay, so after all that, I want to put all this data into containers that I created here. So first, let's get the username, and I'll write name equals username dot get text dot to string. So this line of code will take the name from the username edit text, convert it to the string, and assign it to the string named container. Okay? So second, I want to take a message. So message equals user message dot get text dot to string. And then third, I'm going to need to take that count value, but I don't need to take it here because it increases after every click. And then assign it to the above. Okay, so lastly then, I will grab that checkbox state. So when I close the application, if it's checked, its state will be true. And if it's unchecked, its state will be false. And I will save its status. Okay, so I'm going to write if remember dot is checked. And then this is the checked method, and it will control the checkbox status, checked or unchecked. If it is checked equals true, else is checked equals false. So I grabbed every piece of data from the application. So now we need to save this data. I will call the editor class. I will save my data using this editor class. It's a subclass of the shared preference class. So when I write editor, Android Studio shows me shared preferences.editor. So all I have to do is select it. So let me give a name to this editor object. It can be editor as well. Editor equals shared preferences.edit. This shared preferences is an object shared preferences, the one that I created above. So then after that, I will save the data using this editor. And I'll write editor.putString. If I want to save the string, I will write putString. If I want to save an integer, I will write putInteger. And if I want to save Boolean, I will write putBoolean. So all of these methods will, of course, take two parameters. The first one is keyword. Second one is the data to be saved. Now you remember that shared preferences class stores data using a key value method. So if we want to call this stored data, we will call it using this keyword. So I'm going to write for the keyword key name and what was the data to save name. Okay, so let's continue. Editor.putString key message. Editor.putInt key count. Now, I gave the keyword key count, and I want to save the count value. But the last one is editor.putBoolean key remember is checked. Now, of course, you need to be careful about the keyword. The keyword has to be unique. And that's because if you use the same keyword in another place, it can be confusing. Now, after that, I will write editor.commit. This line will store the data. And if you don't write this line, your data won't be stored, right? All of that work, and if you don't put in the right editor.commit. Now, my save method is ready. So I can use this method, again, wherever I want. So let's, finally, let's add a toast message. After the save, it will show us a toast message. Message is, your data is saved. And now I will call this method in the onPause method. But of course, if you want to, you can use this method in another place. But for now, let's stay with this. But just to give you an example, you can create a save button and then use this method in the button click listener. If the user clicks the save button, it will, of course, save the data. So why don't we right now run the application and see if it works or not. No, I'm confident. I know it does. You might not. So the application is open. I will write a name here. And I'll write something here. And I'll click this button several times. And I will check the checkbox. And now I will close the application. And after I close it, toast message is seen. So now my data is saved. What do you think? Let's open up the application again just to see. And what do we see? Do you see what I see? When I open the application, nothing came back. Oh, it's a disaster, right? Don't worry, the data is saved. Actually, the data is saved in the device. But if we want to see the saved data, we've got to call it back. So what do? We call it back in the next video. So I'm going to see you over there. Shared preferences, calling back data. Hello, everyone. So we're going to learn how to call back saved data using shared preferences class in this particular video. I'm sure that you must remember in the last video we saved data into the local memory, but we did not call it back. No, it's not a fault. It is called incremental experiential learning. We'll get to that later. Anyway, when we open the application again, the saved data did not come back, right? So what we need to do is we know that the data is saved into the device memory. Now we just have to learn how to call it back. First step, I'll create a retrieve data class, saved data class. I'll write here public void retrieve data. First, I will call shared preferences class. Shared preferences equals get shared preferences. And I will use the same keyword as above. The keyword is save data. Also, I will use the same mode, context.mode private. Then after that, what do? I'll call save data back using the same containers. So first, I will call back name. Name equals shared preferences dot get string. So this getString method takes two parameters. First one is keyword. And what was the keyword for this name container? It was key name. Second one is default value. And you can define a default value if the key is not present. I will write null for the default value. Now, if the key is not present or nothing is saved, the default value will be null. So after calling back the name, I will call back the message. So message equals shared preferences dot get string, and keyword is key message. Default value is null. And then third, I will call the count. And no, not from Transylvania. Count equals shared preferences dot get int. Keyword is key count, and default value is 0. Okay, you follow? So the keyword is important, right? If you write the keyword wrong, it will not call back data. Then you got to do some troubleshooting. So let's just write it first in the first place. So the last one is, that's also why I keep things clear as can be. But yeah, so the last one is checked Boolean value. Is checked equals shared preferences dot get Boolean. Keyword is key remember, and default value is false. So now I'll call back data and assign them to the containers. Right, so after that is complete, I need to write this data in place. Okay, so how am I going to do that? So I took data using the get text message from the username component. So this time, I will write on the username and the other component. Just bear with me. I will write here username dot set text name, user message dot set text message, and I will write count value on the button. Name of the button was counter. Counter dot set text quotation marks count. So the quotation marks will convert an integer to string. And the last one is Boolean value. So I call back the Boolean is checked value. If is checked value is true, I will set, remember checkbox, to be checked. If is checked value is false, I will set checkbox to unchecked. So I will write if is checked is true. Remember dot set checked true. Else, remember dot set checked false. Now my data retrieve method is ready. So I will call this method in the onCreate method. You can call this method, of course, wherever you need to, now that it's set. I will write here, retrieve data. So let's run the application again. So the application opens. I'll write a name here. And I'll write something here. I'll click the button several times. And I'm going to click that checkbox. All right, check the checkbox. So now I will close the application. When I close the application, look, there's a toast message. Data is stored. So now I'm going to open up that application again. What do you know? Everything came back. So this time I will uncheck the checkbox, and I will click the button again, close the application. So now when I close the application, it will save the last status of the application. And when I call it back, it will set everything to that last status. Pretty cool, huh? Great. So that's pretty much how you use the shared preferences class. If you want, you can, of course, come up with some multitude of creative ways, I am sure. For example, you can, just to whet your appetite, you can put a save button somewhere in an application, and if the user wants to save any type of data, the user can just click that save button. Alrighty then, so in this video, we learned how to retrieve that saved data using the shared preferences class. I want to see you in the next video because I know you hunger for more.